welcome to Direct Proportion with Cuba Education. In this lecture, you will write equations to link two values that are proportional to one another and find values of letters which are linked to direct proportion values. So, what is direct proportion? If two variables are directly proportional, it means that if one doubles, then the other number also doubles. If one is multiplied by 10, then the other is multiplied by 10. If one is halved, the other is halved. These two variables are linked by a constant, which is called k. Now, the constant is whatever number you multiply by. So, in this case, if both numbers are multiplied by 10, 10 will be your constant. Okay, if both numbers are halved, then divide by 2 would be your constant, and so on. So, let's look at some examples, and you'll kind of understand that a bit more once we do. If y is proportional to x, find an equation that connects them, given that y equals 24 and x equals 4. Now, in this case, what you're saying is that you've got two values, and to get from one of them to the other one, you've times by a number. So how did we get from 4 to 24? Well, 4 times 6 is 24, so we can say that we've multiplied by 6 to get there. So 24 is the same as 6 times 4. 24 is our y value, okay, and 4 is our x value. The only thing we do know that is constant is the 6. So this equation, to use it again and again to find other values, would be written as y, because of this being y, equals 6 times x, because 4 is x. But now you could be given lots of other numbers. You could say that find x when y is 30, okay, or find x when y is 72, okay, and you would find the x value. So if you'd like to pause the video and have a go at this question, please do. Okay, if you've paused the video, let's have a look at this question. If r varies directly as p, find an equation that connects them, given that r equals 14 when p equals 28. So the first thing we need to think about is how did we get from 14 to 28? So we multiplied by 2. To get from 14 to 28, we times by 2. So 28 equals 2 times 14. 28 is our p value. 14 is our r value. So our equation can either be p equals 2r or r equals p over 2. Now, depending on which one we need, so the reason we can say this is because p equals, so p is 28, 2 times 14, which it does, 2 times 14 is 28. Or, if we wanted to, we could move this 2 down here by dividing, which is what I've done here, to give us r on its own. So we can just rearrange the equation to get the right values in the right places. Now, it does actually say if r varies directly as p, find an equation that connects them, meaning that r is the first one in the sentence, so r equals p over 2, so this one is the one that they want to see because r is the first one in their question in this case. Okay, so r equals p over 2. Okay, again, if you'd like to pause the video and have a go at this question. Okay, if you've had a go, let's go through it. If c varies directly as b and c equals 6 when b equals 2, find a, the formula for c in terms of b, the value for c given b equals 14, and c, the value of b given that c equals 39. So let's start with a then. A, we need the formula for c in terms of b. So basically it's exactly the same as what we've just been working out. How do we get from 6 to 2? Well, to get from 6 to 2 we need to divide by 3. Okay, so 6, which is c, okay, divided by 3 gives us b, which is 2. So b here equals 6 divided by 3. Okay, c divided by 3. So we can say that b equals c over 3. Now, let's just check the question, because the way I've done it here, it says the formula for c, which means I need c to be here. In which case, we can just write it the other way around. Okay, c equals 3b. So all we would do to get this c on its own is times that 3 there, giving us 3b equals c. Both of these equations are right, but because they're asking for the formula for C, it means that they want you to use this one. So C equals 3B. So you can just rearrange at the end, depending on which way around you've done it, to get to here. Question B says that we want the value for C, given that B equals 14. So in the previous slides, we've been looking at how to form this type of formula. Okay, this one. So now that we've done it, we can use the formula to work out these two questions. This is what we haven't done yet. So we do know that C equals 3B, that's our formula, and we want to know what C is if B is 14. So we need to know what C is if we do 3 times B, which is 3 times 14. So 3 times 14 is 42, so C equals 42. And then question C says the value of B, giving that C equals 39. Well, again, this is our equation, and C equals 39, which means 39 equals 3B. Now, to get that B on its own, in order to find out what it is, this is being multiplied here, 3 times B. So we're going to divide by 3 to get B on its own. 39 divided by 3 is B, and 39 divided by 3 is 13. So B equals 13. And that's it, you've answered all those questions. Okay, so if you've paused the video, let's go through it. So the first thing that it says is that if T varies directly as S, meaning that if T is directly proportional to S, T is 12 and S is 20, find the formula for T in terms of S. So we'll do A first, and then we'll come back to these values here. So the formula for T in terms of S. So the first thing we need to think about is how did we get from 12 to 20? Okay, so what did you times by to get from 12 to 20? So if we're not sure, we can do 20 divided by 12, which gives us 1.6 reoccurring. So what that means is that you've got to do 12 times 1.6 reoccurring to get to 20. Now, that doesn't sound like a very nice number to use, so instead of doing 20 divided by 12 and getting an answer, I'm going to write 20 over 12 as a fraction and cancel it down. And if I cancel it down, it means 5 over 3. It gets to 5 over 3. So that means that you need to do 12 times 5 over 3 to get 20. So 20 equals 5 over 3 times 12. Now 20 is our S value. 12 is our T value. So S equals 5 over 3 times T. Now, in this case, we'd have to rearrange it because we actually want it in terms of T. So in order to do that, what you could do first is times by 3, okay, which moves the 3 over to the S, okay, and then divide by 5 because you'll have 5T here. So then you'll end up with 3 over 5S. So T equals 3 over 5S. So for B, we want the value of T, giving that S is 35. So let's use T equals 3 over 5S. And we need to work out the value for T, given that S is 35. So T equals 3 over 5 times 35. Okay, well 3/5 is a decimal because I just thought it was easier, is 0.6. So 0.6 times 35, okay, is 21. Alright, so T is 21. And then finally C, the value of S, given that T is 24. So here's our equation, and this time we're trying to find S. So we know that T is 24. So 24 equals 3/5 times S. Now again, I'm going to change that to 0.6 to make it easier. 3/5 is the same as 0.6. 24 equals 0.6 times S. Okay, so in order to get S on its own, we must divide by 0.6. 24 divided by 0.6 equals S. And that means that S is 40. Oops, sorry. Okay, so 24 divided by 0.6 is 40. So S is 40. Sorry, I didn't write that very well. Okay. Alright, so let's have a look at this example now. So you've got to try and complete the following table. If you would like to have a go at it and pause the video, feel free to do so. But I think it is useful to go through it. Okay, so first thing we need to think about is you've got two values here, P and R, and it says that R is directly proportional to P, so complete the following table. So we've got two values just like we had on the other slide. So if I go back a second, you'll see that we're given two values here, 12 and 20. And here we're given the same, 3 and 12. So you've got to think, how do we get from 12 to 3? Okay. So you've got to think, how do we get from 12 to 3? To get from 12 to 3, well, 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay. So if 12 divided by 4 is 3, we know that 12, which is R, okay, divided by 4 equals 3, which is P. So this is the equation that we can use to then complete the rest of the table. So in order to complete the rest of the table, we need to then look at our values. So here we've got P is 5. So in order to work out what R is, we're going to do R divided by 4 equals 5, because we know P. And if we know P, we can move this 4 across over here by multiplying, and 4 times 5 is 20. So R must be 20 in that case. Okay, looking at the next one, we will use the same equation, but this time we know R. R is 28. So our equation will be 28 over 4. Well, 28 over 4 is 7, so P must equal 7. And then finally we have 12. So again, the same equation, but this time we know P. So R over 4 is 12 because it's P. And then in order to find out what R is, again, we need to times these two values. So 4 times 12 gives us R, so R is 48. Okay, good. Okay, so a few GCSE style questions now. Obviously the others were similar to these, so they'll all help you with your exams. So y is directly proportional to x. When x is 30, y equals 45. Find y when x equals 40. Okay, so it doesn't ask you to find the equation or anything. You can if it helps you. All I did here was the same thing that we kind of did before and thought, how do we get from 30 to 45? What did we do? Again, if you don't know, you can do 45 divided by 30, which gives us 1.5. So that means that 30 times 1.5 equals 45. Okay, so I know that my multiplier, my k, my constant, is 1.5. I also know that x is smaller than y, and it says that find y when x is 40. Well, if I'm trying to find y and x is smaller than y, okay, it's always going to be smaller in this case because it's a direct proportion question. They're all going to increase with the same value or multiplier. So if I know that x is 40 and we times by 1.5 to get to our next value, I'm going to do 40 times 1.5, which is 60. So y equals 60. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at this question. It's quite tricky, but it's a really good way of testing your knowledge. Okay, if you've paused the video and had a go, let's go through it then. The voltage, V volts, across an electrical circuit is directly proportional to the current of I amps flowing through the circuit. When I equals 1.2 and V equals 78, A, express V in terms of I, B, sorry, that's supposed to say find V when I equals 2, and then find I when V equals 162.5. So in this case, A, express V in terms of I, we need to think about how do we get from 1.2 to 78. So again, if you're not sure how that would work, which I wasn't either, 78 divided by 1.2 is 65. So I know that my multiplier, my K, is 65. Okay, so I know that 1.2 to 78 I times by 65. So I know that my V, 78, V, equals 65 times 1.2 or I. Okay, so that is our formula expressing V in terms of I. Okay, so now we can use that formula now to answer the rest of the questions. So for B, find V when I equals 2. Well, here's our formula, V equals 65I. okay, and it says to find v. So we need to do 65 times I, and in this case I is 2, okay, and 65 times 2 is 130. So your answer will be 130 volts, so don't forget to put your units on there. Okay, so we found that one. And then find I when V is 162.5. So again, we'll use the same equation, but this time we're finding I, and we know V, so we can put V in. So 162.5 equals 65 times I. In order to find I, we need to get rid of this 65 by moving it over the equals. And because this is times, we do division instead to move it over. So 162.5 divided by 65 will give us I, which gives us 2.5 amps. Okay, well done if you got all that right, because that was a hard one. Okay, so your learning outcomes for today were to write equations to link two values that are proportional to one another, which you have. You've written those equations y equals k over x and continue to use them to find values. So that was the second point. So well done. I hope you've learned a lot from that. Please give me any feedback or comment on the videos to let me know how they're helping you, if there's anything else I can do to help more. Well done. Thank you so much for using Gcse Education, and I hope to see you next time.